Hello, everyone. Welcome to Returning to Light with Julia Treat. That's me, your host, today with Danielle Matthews, who is joining me to talk about a very interesting topic. I have been doing some extensive research and have been totally blown away. Um, when I find something that's working, I like to dig in and find out why that's happening, why that's working, what's happening with this. And I just returned back home again from visiting my mother, who is doing fabulous. Many of you know that she was starting to show some significant mental decline, and to the point where I thought I was going to have to make a very yucky decision. And she has done a complete turnaround. She is using her ASEA, which is helping her turn things around. And so as I'm, witnessing things myself, and then hearing testimonials of people, I always have to go, why is this working so well? And I'm guided to look at things. I'm guided to do things. And one day I just got this idea that I just start putting in a search, a certain condition or whatever the case may be, and redox, just to do that, just this condition and redox. And so I have a plethora. I will say that, Danielle, we're going to throw it to you so you can, help explain this. But guys, I think it's so important that we learn like what's really happening inside of our body and what that means and how we can help our bodies, do the healing work. But here we go, because I think some of them I was just going, wow. I mean, even intrusive thoughts and redox. If you do that in your search, you're going to see that it is connected. All right. Intrusive thoughts, depression and redox, anxiety and redox, diabetes and redox, autoimmune and redox. You literally can do this yourself. Anything that you have going on, just put in a search. Headaches and redox, hair loss, forgetfulness. Like some of them I'm just going, wow. Cholesterol, joint pain, heart palpitations, hormone imbalance, they're all tied to redox. Cancer, blood clots, rheumatoid arthritis, infertility, high blood pressure, dementia, Alzheimer's, vertigo, dental issues. Let me go on. Liver disease, because someone's going to hear this and go, what? That is what I have or what my family member has. But kidney stones, tinnitus, aneurysm, autism, MS, Parkinson's, aging, heart disease. Guys, it's sleep disturbances, mood swings, explosive disorder. I would hopelessness. I even put that in there. I felt like I was guided to put certain words. And even I just said hopelessness. What? It's connected to redox. So I was blown away and excited all in the same, few moments that I was doing this. And so I really wanted to have Danielle on to talk about, what's going on and why everything goes to redox and what that even means.
Well, when you say you're searching it, were you doing a Google search, a Google Scholar, a PubMed, a ChatGPT? Like, where are you searching?
Now I was just searching on Google.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that redox is a massive field of science. I think this is something that people don't understand. So, obviously, you and I talk a lot about ASEA, which has stabilized redox molecules, and ASEA doesn't do any like research or studies on specific diseases or illnesses because they're not a drug. They're a supplement. And so they do structure function studies, which are interesting. But for myself, it was when I first learned about and started using the ASEA and I had the results that I had, I said, well, what are redox molecules and what does the research say about the field of redox signaling and what are people finding? And so if you go to PubMed, if you go to Google Scholar, if you go to, AI, if you go to just general Google, apparently, which is what you were doing,
Yeah.
you can search and people need to understand that like ASEA didn't make up the term redox. This is a field of science. ASEA is just like a little piece in this giant field. And so what you're talking about is the field of redox signaling and what research is going on in this field. So people are looking at, like I remember looking at, I think it was an article in the Lancet, um, Dr. Watson. So Watson and Crick, the ones that, figured out the double helix. Watson had written an article saying that we had been looking at disease states all wrong and that they were actually an imbalance of redox molecules. And he was naming different things. I think he named three different specific diseases in that and was saying we need to go back and we need to look at the redox state. So are the reductants and oxidants in the system balanced? Because if you think about it, like oxidants are They're signaling, they're letting the body know. They're like the smoke to the fire. Well, you can have too much of that, right? It is a problem. This is oxidative, we have a problem if we are extending that too far. It needs to be balanced. And so, but we need it also because you need to know where the issues are. Like if there was no smoke, you couldn't find the fire, right? But we can't just have an abundance of that or it'd be a problem. So there's a balance to be struck, which I think makes sense. There's a balance in all things. We have day and night, we have up and down. We need polarity in life. And that's the interesting thing with reductants and oxidants. And for a long time in the scientific community, there was a hyper focus on antioxidants, and that was a piece of the equation. Okay. And so now what I'm seeing is that this thing is getting balanced out. So people are starting to, and they've even like renamed some forums rather than being, they're now looking at and renaming these forums. It's escaping me right now. Maybe it'll come back to me later, but they're redox. They're now rather than just looking at antioxidants. It's like the whole equation are the reductants and the oxidants. And when you look at the cellular level, you have to say, okay, what's going on and how can that be implicated in these various things? And I think that I had to scratch my head for a long time. I didn't understand how something could make such a difference, like in all the things you named.
Mhm.
It's like, well, it's all signaling. Okay. So whether the cell is signaling in your eye or your liver or your pancreas or your brain or your skin, they're all signaling with these reductants and oxidants. And so if you're having a particular issue that has moved to the point where you have a diagnosis from a doctor, if you come down, most Western medicine is looking at, okay, you've got these symptoms, let's mask the symptoms.
Mhm.
But where redox is coming in is it's saying, well, hang on a second. This is where what Watson was saying. Hang on a second. Can we go down and can we look on a layer deeper at the causal level and say, well, why are these symptoms happening in the first place? That's the effect. What was the cause? And what we're finding is that the cause is that these reductants and oxidants were not doing their job or they were completely out of balance. And the signaling system, somehow it's like we all know when we have miscommunication, it's a problem. Imagine if the communication on our roads didn't work, right? When the traffic lights don't work, or if our signal on our cell phone didn't work, or the Wi-Fi signal didn't work here. I couldn't be talking to you, or you all couldn't be listening to us. So we need signal for everything, and it's true in our body. And so it's really interesting. It wasn't until the late 90s that we had the equipment sophisticated enough to be able to go down and see these molecules and really find to follow them and figure out what they were doing. And it's opened up a giant field of science, which I find very exciting. And I think that that's something that everyone can explore. Now, it might be too much, right? Like a mind like yours, Julia, is like super excited and it's going deep on it. My mind did the same thing.
Mhm.
There's books out there that you can read on redox. Dr. Lee Osler has a couple that are pretty good. I think connecting the dots between redox and health, or it's named something of that nature. We can get it to you to put it in the show notes, but like that's where you have to sort of understand the mechanisms, right, that are happening within your physical body, and then going, okay, well, how can I address this? And for a long time, it was thought to be like, well, you can't really do much for the redox signaling like potential in your system, and you can't really address it in any way. And so people have been kind of stumped for a while. And now with ASEA, we have the ability to kind of play with some redox molecules and putting them back in the system. And like, what does that mean? Well, it's not going to be a treatment or cure for any disease. It's like, what does it mean when you get signal back on your cell phone? Well, it just means that all your apps, all your everything have like the what do I want to say? Like the potential to be able to work again.
Yeah, it works again. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's the same that happens within the body. It's like, well, when I can put signal back into my system, now my system can do a lot. And people have to be very like clear that ASEA is not doing any treating, curing, healing of disease states in the body. It's not. And it's not a medicine and it shouldn't be looked at it like that. But it is putting more of the communication back in your system. And so it's like, okay, well, that's nice. If I get more signal on my cell phone, well, now I have a lot more potential to do a lot more. And so now my body has a lot more potential to do a lot more. And the body is just amazing. I mean, it's
It
just,
is. And I think with what you just said, with my mother, we started her on a certain dosage, a couple shots here and there through the day. And I noticed things were improving because ASEA is going in and your body's going to take it where it needs to be, I guess, whatever it needs to be working on. And I noticed she was improving, but there could be more. I was watching testimonials and going, wait a minute, there's still potential. We could still do more with this. So I've bumped her up and I was just there last week and we bumped her up. We doubled her dosage every day right now, just to really saturate her body with all this goodness. And man, just in a few days, I'm just elated. Her physical therapist is blown away with just what she's doing now and her stamina just in a few days. And so I just kind of wanted to drive that home too, that everybody's different. Everybody has different needs. Maybe you got a lot going on, maybe you have a little going on, and that it does know, where to go. Your body knows what to do with it. So it's interesting too that since doing this with my mother, and getting her turned around, that now it's opened the door to me speaking with other really children of families there that are visiting at the same time, for that their parents, one or both parents is maybe experiencing similar things like my mom. Then I'm kind of starting to open that door and talk to them about it and tell them my mom's history, of what was going on, and which included basically whispering to herself all day. Okay, and that has stopped. That's gone. That's no more of that happening. So, and even the two drivers that picked me up at my mom's this time, I get a driver from my mom's in Lawrence, Kansas, to take me to Kansas City Airport, and they started talking about both of them started talking about their moms and having the same mental struggles, and I'm like, oh, well, interesting. That might not have to occur. So it opened the door for me to be able to talk about ASEA with them and give them all the information. So they're excited to look
Yeah.
into it. And
That's what I know. ASEA is going to be additive to somebody's health. When you can put more signal into the body, it's going to be additive. Results vary, obviously. Each person's body and what's needed and the thing you're focused on versus what the body focuses on might be different. But I do know that it's like, do I want to put good water into my system? Do I want to put good nutrition into my system? Like, yes and yes. Do I need clean air to breathe? Yes. And I look at it, it's like oxygen, nutrition, hydration, and signal. I think if you get those things right, your cells are very happy. And I think if you've got trillions of very happy cells, that's going to trickle up and be additive to the body. What that manifests as on the physical level for you to be able to notice at the system level, it's going to vary.
Yeah.
But I do know that it is the space that we've not been able to really tinker with much before when it comes to health. And it's just very exciting. And frankly, I'm surprised that ASEA is the only product on the market that has redox signaling. I think that will not be the case in, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know when it's going to happen. Could be next year. I mean, I don't know the future, but I do know this is a massive space and a massive field. It's just that like the masses haven't quite woken up to it yet. I think of it like penicillin. When penicillin was discovered, which is bread mold, guys. So it was discovered about how that could support and help the body, but people didn't take it up quickly. They're like, bread mold, what are you talking about? I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to ingest that. Why would I do that? Well, it wasn't until there was a massive need during the World War that they realized, holy cow, our men that are fighting, like penicillin is going to save them. And so then it got mass acceptance. And all of a sudden, well, everyone knows that penicillin can be life-saving and it's amazing and it's bread mold. So I see a lot of parallels here where it's like, okay, something was discovered. First of all, just the field of redox signaling was discovered in the late 90s. And then you have this team of scientists in the like early 2000s that have figured out how to stabilize some and they're kind of playing with, well, what does that mean if we introduce it back into the system and all of that. And it's just opening up and like, there's people like yourself and me that are like, well, I'm open to trying something like this. What's it going to bring for my body? And then we see what it's bringing and we're like, well, this just makes sense. And also like everyone needs this, right? Like
Yep.
everyone could benefit from this. It's going to be additive and it's going to be supportive in taking you from whatever state you are to a better state. Like it's going to take you from well to even better. Like this is fantastic to move in that direction. And I think that, I mean, I don't want there to be like some giant thing. I mean, I did watch when the pandemic happened, people started to kind of shift, right, their mindset around, well, how do I keep my body healthy? How do I proactively do things? I don't want to be reactionary. What can I do to keep my body well? And also, there's like a mistrust that has sort of come into like, well, where is money, making like coming in over the decisions over my health and my doctors and pharmaceutical industry, and where is like the actual outcomes we're looking for? Like, where's the incentive? It's interesting. I think it's in Japan. The incentive structure is very different, where the doctors are paid to keep you healthy, and the moment you get sick, the doctor doesn't earn money, right? They are
Oh,
paid to keep you healthy. So where is the incentive structure there?
wow.
The incentive structure is more around what are you eating? How are you dealing with stress? Are you doing like, meditation, walk? Like, what are you doing? Are you taking something that can help you be proactive? it's a different, our incentive structure is just, it's just, that's not how it is here. And so people just need, you just need to be aware. And then you need to realize, okay, well, my health is in my own hands. And I've seen that shift happening. And I don't know if that's what's going to lead to sort of like how penicillin, it was the war that made it be incorporated. If this shift sort of globally in looking at health due to what's been happening with the pandemic and the fallout, now that more information is getting to more people, I think it's shifting. Like I feel the consciousness kind of shifting. And ASEA I see is just like a beautiful thing that's planted here that's like, it's kind of a no-brainer, just as like eating well and drinking clean water and, breathing healthy air is a no-brainer for our health. Like we need those things. You also need signal. It's going to be supportive. And what it brings you, you'll find out.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the fun.
Yeah, it's just like anything else I've ever done. In my life is, I have a master's degree in speech pathology. Then I, open up to my psychic gifts, but I always had to know, why is this working? Like what, or how is this working? And why does this happen? Even doing remote viewing. Well, why does that work?
Yeah.
So this is just my next step. I have to really understand what this is. And because it's so new, people are just hearing about it. That's why I feel like it's part of my job to come out and say, hey, guys, just look at this and see how things are related and what's going on in the body, because we have to start, instead of just trusting everything out there that's thrown at us, we have to start saying, now let me look and see if this makes sense. Let me understand the science of my body, what's going on inside. Does this make sense? So
Yeah.
I would encourage everyone to just do the whole searching thing for fun, anything you got going on, or a loved one, or I don't know. I'm even getting just even something you're taking, that and redox, and see what happens. See what it says. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
start getting smart about stuff. And I'm learning so much. I'm grateful for that. And as always, guys, I've been pushing ASEA here lately because I've witnessed it in my own health, but also with my mother. It is just it's a miracle what's happened for her. So check it out. Just go to my site if you want to look at the product. You can hit the contact me button. I'll help you out. It's aseaglobal.com/Julia Treat. And if you use the promo code Julia Treat, all caps, you do get it 10% off. But they have bundles that with my 10% off, you can get like over 40% off some of them. Okay, so there's so many ways that we can get you going and save you lots of bucks. And so feel free to reach out, check out my site, and let me know if I can help in any way. Danielle, thanks for shedding light on this, because I had fun looking into this, and it was very mind-blowing, but also just eye-opening, just
Yeah.
how everything is linked. So
Yeah, I think it's important to understand the body, I think people ask about the research behind ASEA, and like I said, there's certain research there. But if you open up, like the school where I went to, University of Virginia, they now have a redox laboratory, and a lot of universities are opening up these laboratories to study redox because it's just a massive field of science. And so it is empowering to understand what's the space that we're even playing in. And then what role does ASEA play? Like I said, like it's a role and it's like a piece in this really big puzzle. And I think it's just empowering. Knowledge is power. So yeah, go have fun, guys. Go explore.
Yeah, go check it out. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again very soon. Danielle, can't wait to have you back.
Bye, everybody.